Hey, thanks once again for opting in about our personal safety awareness course, our Level 3 NFPS online personal safety awareness trainer course, should I say. And you're probably aware of the disappearance of this young lady here, Sarah Everard, who was abducted and murdered. I mean, it's made all the news, so I'm presuming you know about it. But the one thing that strikes me about this case is it was at 9 o'clock at night in a very busy thoroughfare where loads of people, were about, and it was on a 2.5 mile journey home. That just goes to show you, how easy it is for someone to be abducted and sadly killed. We've also since then had the death of PCSO Julia James. So she died from head injuries, blunt force trauma to the back of the head, when she was out walking her dog in a park in Kent, and the police are obviously still investigating the case. But the Daily Mail have actually come up with something here, and they said that it was a prowler who bludgeoned PCSO Julia James, 53, to death with a heavy object, causing significant blunt force head injuries. They reckon there's a sexual motive behind this. But what's interesting is this bullet point here, where it says her murder is 2 miles from where Dr. Lynn Russell, 45, and daughter Megan, 6, were bludgeoned to death. So this is in a very same area. And then they cite other things here, like the woman said to have been accosted by a man in a white transit van as she walked in Nonnington 2 weeks ago. They reckon she was killed by a stranger, and so on and so forth. But these two cases, this one here, Julia James and Sarah Everard, I'm presuming you know about these cases because they're current in the press. But what you might not know about is the case of Ashleigh Ewing. Now, Ashleigh Ewing was stabbed to death in Newcastle in 2006. She was a lone worker, and she went to visit a guy called Dixon, who was a paranoid schizophrenic, who stopped taking his medication, and she'd got to see him, and he stabbed her to death. So this is again, a situation where someone is on their own, and this is not an isolated case. We also had the case of Jenny Morrison, and Jenny Morrison is another person, who in 1998 went to visit another mentally ill patient called Anthony Joseph. And I'm not saying all mental health patients are killers, by the way. Please don't take that. These are just two cases. And she was stabbed more than 100 times because this guy had past history. He was outside Buckingham Palace saying when he was arrested once, saying that God was telling him to kill his mother, who was the Queen. But we talk about these two cases inside the personal safety awareness course, and you'll see in the lone working section there, you'll see some commonalities in there with regards to how red flags could have been identified with this case. But looking at the overall risk to females predominantly, and this was published on the 19th of March by the BBC, if you look at this here, in the year to March 2020, 207 women were killed in Great Britain. That means 1 in 4 killings were of women in the United Kingdom, and the previous year it was 241. So there is a very real risk out there to females. But what about men? Men, can be victims too. What does it say here? Yeah, it says, in general, men are more likely to be victims of violence such as assault. It's estimated that about 1.3% of women were victims of violent crime in the year ending March 2020, compared with 2% of men. Most violent attacks are by people the victim knows, 92% in the case of women and 79% among men. So, men or women, there's the risk there of a violent attack. And the whole point of the personal safety awareness course is to raise your awareness, get you to identify things that are at risk and then avoid them. So the difference between the personal safety awareness course and the self-defense instructor course is the personal safety awareness trainer course is all about being aware and avoidance, whereas the self-defense trainers course is about teaching people what to do if their awareness and avoidance fails them. Okay, but this is the reason we do it. This is the reason we have these courses. This is the reason we put it out there. It's why I've been doing this for 30 years. So go and research these, have a look at these, and hopefully when the course is launched, I'll see you on the course. Take care, and if you have any questions at all, please get in touch.